Dear viewers, welcome to NASCOM Insights Vision Talks. Now, what are Vision Talks? These are unique leadership interviews that emphasize strategic, future-centric directions for a sector or an industry that is essential for India's shift to a developed nation. Today's discussion focuses on talent and skilling. Now, India has emerged as a significant player in the global technology skills landscape, often referred to as the tech talent nation. This title stems from the country's vast pool of skilled professionals, a traditionally robust educational infrastructure, and an increasingly vibrant startup ecosystem. With the world's largest supply of STEM graduates at about 2.5 million people annually, a globally leading female diversity ratio of 43 to 48%, and growing emphasis on technology and innovation, India today is well positioned to meet the demands of an ever-evolving global digital economy. The rise of remote work, availability of specialized gig and flexible workforces, and overall digital transformation has further accelerated India's prominence as a source of tech talent. Global MNCs, GCCs are tapping into India's diverse skill set, which spreads across the entire gamut of new technology areas. Indian tech professionals are equally proficient in technical skills and professional skills, bringing unique perspectives that foster creativity and innovation. In today's Vision Talk, we will explore this topic further, delving into various aspects of India's role in the global tech skills arena, its strengths, challenges, future potential, and much more. And to share his thoughts on this topic today, I have a visionary with me, a man who needs no introduction, Mr. Kamal Karanth, co-founder of Xpheno, a specialist staffing solutions company. So, welcome to Vision Talks by NASCOM Insights, Kamal.
Happy to be here, Joe.
Thank you. So, Kamal, I did say that you do not need an introduction for the business community, but given the variety in our audience, do share your personal, educational, corporate, entrepreneurial journey, the not-for-profit work that you have done for our audiences, please.
I was born in Bangalore and in a way raised in a place called Udupi. People are not supposed to brag of Karnataka. I grew up there and higher education brought me to Bangalore, and Bangalore has been home since 1990, so almost 25 years doing that work. So, after the work also that I do have a lot of that work, and ventured into the world of recruitment, staffing at the early stage of my career, and I felt that we make a difference when we place people in organizations. So, my recruitment staffing career began in 2001, and thereon I worked for two large enterprises, which is known as Randstad and the one was Health Services, where I spent for 7.5 years. But somewhere in my heart, always I felt this industry was growing. When I joined the industry, in the staffing recruiting industry, it was a $100 billion industry. Today it's $14 billion. So I felt that this is space for specialist staffing companies. I was lucky to have my childhood friend also in the industry. I'm going to do that. Neighbors, we worked for 46 years. So the neighbors, friends, we were peers in Mafra. So we were competitors when he was heading another competing company and I was heading head. And one fine day, we sort of got together, put our life savings for someone from our friend. Then afterwards, we put to start for 7 years ago. So, in a nutshell, my professional journey began with 17 started as
good to hear this, and it's a great friendship story, it's a great business story, it's also a great inspiration story that something different, and love to hear more about what you do for the questions. But I think if you just step back, India has been a key contender with this title of the tech talent nation of the world. What are the unique reasons you believe India actually offers as a tech talent nation, and it's made it more attractive to global audiences, global clients?
The numbers speak for themselves. If you look at the 28 million odd software engineers in the world, we know India is number 2 at about 5.8 million staff. China is at 7 million, even led by India, and US number 3rd at 4.4 million. So, if you look at the top 3 nations in that case, we are way that's a starting point. But I think for me, what is far more interesting is the number of software professionals from India who are actually migrating. Over the last 2 years, the numbers are even more interesting. For example, last year alone, 90,000 tech professionals from India migrated to countries like US, Canada, UK, China, Philippines, and Australia. There are 6 countries. But the previous year, almost 112,000 tech professionals migrated. And of course, there's always a certain number which comes back to India, but every year when we study, we look at almost 40,000 odd people are net surplus who are leaving India. So that means that Indians are there, in countries of importance, showing their progress. And even if you look at the H1B number, almost 70% are Indian professionals, almost 2.79 lakh, whatever it was. So I think the statistics of the sheer number of tech professionals working overseas, working in India, close to 6 million, and the number of engineers passing out, almost 8 lakh people, of which 2 lakh are 20%, and that is increasing. 2022, the numbers actually moved from 2 lakh to 2 lakh 30,000 of the engineers passing out from India. So the numbers are, from a tech talent point of view, what we have within India or overseas. We are also migrating within the country to look at not just 6 big cities where the tech talent is housed, but we have another 7 big cities. We are too strong from there. People moving to the big cities, moving back now as well. So I think if you look at us, we have the scale of people who are passing out, the scale of people who are employed in the tech world, scale of people who are going out of the country, and an highly aspirational mobile upskilling talent. So I think with all these things, it's very difficult to look anywhere else in the world but India or Indians when it comes to tech talent.
Yeah, that's a good point that you got. It's not people in Soviet clubs. In fact, a lot of the leaders are not even so it's not a entry level and mid level talent story that India has to offer. It's also leadership story that India has to offer. Thanks for pointing that out. Digging into your experiences, can you share some state level, country level projects that you think showcases India's prowess as a tech talent nation? How the talent has contributed to global progress in examples.
I wouldn't say any of these as projects, but I think what comes to my head is the building of talent that IT services companies are. I think it's a story well told, but if you look at today, close to 2.4 billion people work out of just Indian IT services as a segment. And I think what the TCS, Infi, SCLs, Wipros of the world did in the initial phase where they hired thousands and lakhs of students out of college, what they call as a higher trained them in mass, and put them to work and created that workforce, which forced large services companies, Accenture, Capgemini, to set up, and the consulting companies to come to India and emulate this model. And today, probably some of them have even larger workforce than some of the
some of the consulting companies are bigger IT services companies, not because of this model, right? This model did not exist.
I think that's the largest project, well told, and still I think very difficult to emulate at the speed that they bring in. The second that comes to my mind is the growth of GCCs, which is again inspired by the first. In a way, 1,700 plus GCC is still counting. They're saying that 3,000 soon, and all kinds of companies which are possibly not even in the tech space but building their tech talent out of India. Clearly, the 1.9 million people who are employed in this space, I would say, is where not run by Indians, but global MNCs themselves are running it. For me, these two things are the large projects that we've done, and the third one, we've already talked about Indians migrating elsewhere, over the last period of time, and also it is contributing economically. When you look at last year's remittances, $120 billion came to India, which is the largest, and we're growing in that very strongly. And by and large, we used to get a lot of remittances from the Middle East. And what you can see is the movement that is coming from countries like US, which is pointing towards more tech talent, contributing back to the home country. So I guess I would say these three things comes to my mind when we talk about large scale impacts at a country level that we have.
Great points. On the skills part, right? And what are key technical, soft, professional skills, domain skills that actually enhance India's appeal as a tech talent nation? And do you see any gaps in that in terms of what our talent offers?
As when I look at India at a large, I think India, in my view, offers one is the skill levels. Now, I was talking to Canadian company that want to come to India and they're wanting to recruit just about 1,000 people. And we said just, India, when we say 1,000, we don't get really excited. We are dealing with much bigger numbers when it comes to companies coming to India. And as recruiters, we are even more biased. If I go and tell any of my recruiters that they are 10 people, they go to recruitment. So if you don't talk hundreds, we don't get excited, as a company as well. So if you talk about those numbers, and I was talking to the CEO and he said, look, I'm not coming here for cost or anything. I'm here because I won't be able to scale up 1,000 people in between Canada and the United States in the next 5 years. The skill set also. It's pure skill diversity that's available here, right? So we know the software engineer progress, the number of people who are already there, the project management skills that's there, the scale in which the graduates are passing up. I think that the skill diversity part of it, not only from the freshers who are passing out their plan, even if you look at higher education, 32,000 PhDs who pass out every year, of which almost 40% are coming from science and engineering background. So that again adds to the talent diversity. Then companies that will build talent, you have an organic pool that is coming and joining the field. So I guess the skill diversity is there. You have the second largest English-speaking population in the world. Not to forget about 25 lakhs 10 graduates passing out, of which I think we have 90% of these 10 graduates speaking English. Right? So I think the skill and the scale is something that draws anybody to India. The third I would say is in terms of also you cannot negate the cost level in there. But anybody who comes in, I think we don't want to talk about it, but let's face it that the skill cost advantage, which I think in the next 20 years is very difficult for anybody to take away from the Indian tech talent. So I would say skill, the scale, and of course for any company coming to India, the speed in which you can scale up, is an element that India offers for everyone. There's this large healthcare company which is based out of California, and they were worried that they are in one city where they are recruiting about 2,500 people, and somebody said, why are you in only one city? Why don't you go to some other city? And I had to go all the way to San Francisco and tell them, look, any 6 cities in India, up to 5,000 you don't have to work. It could be even more. Yeah. So I had to show them another 50 companies which had at least 10,000 tech talent in that city, right? So I think if you look at the diversity of skills, the scale, and the speed in which you can recruit, I think if anybody recruits about, let's say, 200 people in a European or any other country, they'll be very happy. But I think in a country like India, we can recruit 1,000 people in about 10 months. So I think skill, scale, speed, and price are the kind of stuff that we offer in a platter. Gaps, I would say clearly in terms of employability, though we talk about 8 lakh engineers passing out, we struggle to hire people who are easily having the 8 lakh people or hardly 50,000 people are easily required for the company. And that's the biggest gap that we have. I think something has to be done about it. And clearly, I would put that as the single largest gap when it comes to the talent. And two is the development of tier 2 cities. I would say that I think goes a long way because the cities are overgrowing in Indian context, so we're still getting a lot of companies to come to India. I think the development of tier 2 cities is a gap that
on the latter part, we go deeper. But I think fair points to be brought out. I think from an organization perspective, from a talent perspective, technology itself, the shelf life of technology is short. Right? Earlier you could catch Java, you could wait 30-year-old careers around it. But today technology shelf life is not short because technology is evolving rapidly. What is good today, 2 years later, will probably be very fun. So how do people keep themselves updated? Do you find continuous learning as an attitude or a skill a challenge in India, or do you see something different?
Yeah, I'm told learning, specifically, is a challenge not just in India, across the world, in a very highly distracted world that we live in. But in the technology world, it's inevitable, but you sort of update, upskill as we call it. I was in this large banking company's campus recently. We have close to 30,000 tech talent in India. And something very interesting that they practice, and they've been practicing for a while, which I thought was worthwhile for many of us to implement. So they look at an organization where every 1 week in a month is like a learning week, where even their CEO actually comes and presents something new for others to learn. So I believe that's a kind of routine that they have been practicing. And as an organization, they believe they are more a skill-based organization than a role-based organization. Right? As you know, we always divide the organization in the form of titles, layers, and even compensated people based on, let's say, qualifications, experience levels, and performances. All of that. Whereas if we are able to look at bringing new rituals like this, and also maybe possibly differentiating among the workforce in the form of skills. As a country, we grew up societally with competition. Whether it was with siblings, whether it's neighbors, relatives, alumni. I think everywhere we went, we competed. I think it's time we bring that in the organization context as well. Where if we can at least look at all organizations, especially in the service kind of companies that we work with. Right? If let's say we are talking about something like a beginner, intermediate and specialist kind of levels, where we possibly differentiate people based on skills. And also compensate them accordingly over a period of time. The specialists can still be super specialists as we go along. I think we respond as a country positively to competition. And somewhere I think this is one area as much as we can say it can also harm the cultural competition if we make it over competitive. But as a country, society, we are being well tuned to be competitive in nature. So I would say that if we are able to gamify and build more competitiveness to the way we skill, I would say that's the way to go to make it a culture among enterprises.
Yeah, I think that's a great point to point out. How to make people really have the hunger to skill. And I think that would really come back if people get opportunities basis on what they skill, because they often feel that I learned something but I'm not able to utilize it. So I think it's a two-way street. Both the parties have to work together. That's a good point you brought out on talent diversity. In fact, India's talent diversity actually helps you offer service diversity because you have a variety of talent, you can offer a variety of services, and that has always helped us. But you touched upon it a while ago on Tier 2, Tier 3. How do you perceive the impact of the talent pool from emerging hubs? What support can key stakeholders, and then before that, what our analysis shows that almost 58 to 60% of the technology talent originates from Tier 2, Tier 3 locations. The colleges are there, their hometowns are there. I come from a small town called Shipur, that another small place, never work there. So, what kind of support can stakeholders really provide to make this talent pool, nurture this talent pool, and make this asset? Do you think they should move it to the Tier 1 city? Do you think Tier 2 cities should be developed? No, it's a conundrum, right? How do you try to address it?
Absolutely. See, last 4 weeks I was working out of Turkey. We have a COE in Turkey, so and we set it up this January. So because we've been advising companies, they go to Tier 2 cities, kind of stuff, but we realize that if we ourselves don't have that experience, how do we go and tell large companies how to do it? So we set up a COE. So I was working out of Turkey, and one of the things that strikes me is, it's a place which has about 40,000 graduates passing out every year. 10,000 of them are engineers. But how many people totally work there in the tech world about 20,000? So that means the lacks of engineers or science graduates or passers are working elsewhere, right? So if you look at even let's say the GCCs per se who possibly are looking at Tier 2 cities, there are about 220 units today in the 5 Tier 2 cities that are concentrated, and close to about 80,000 odd people working with them. So, like you put, we have thousands of people who migrated, and most of the people that the first question that I ask when I meet somebody is, where are you from? When they say Bangalore, I ask again, Bangalore, really? Because nobody can be from Bangalore, according to me. They must be from somewhere else, right? So, and 80% of the time it turns out true that they are from some other place. So, with all the talent coming from there, and cities becoming larger and challenges that we talk about, traffic and things like that, and large enterprises are taking cognizance. If you look at the initiatives that some of the governments are taking, like Karnataka has ADM, which is Karnataka Digital Economy, where they are doing something called as Beyond Bangalore. They're trying to ask companies, can you look at Bangalore +1? Can you go to Bangalore? Can you go to Mysore or do that one? I'm sure every state is looking at things like that. The challenge here is how do you connect these towns to the big cities? How well connected are the roads? For example, airports. There's a large engineering company and they want to have 200 people. And I go, where did they go to? They said, how many international flights take? And I was like, counting, right? and it takes 8 hours to drive to
It's
work.
a checklist for them, right?
So, absolutely.
You have to check the checklist.
Absolutely. And how many grade A buildings, right? So we cannot promote any place like, it is the best surfing city and people don't come, for a holiday, right? So people come, for talent. So how do we establish talent? How do you actually show them that there is talent? I think for tier 2 cities to take off in India, clearly the Indian conglomerates, Indian IT services companies have taken. And we all know that the MNCs follow lead, they hire from them. So it's important that the TCS, Wipro, kind of companies who already have presence and the second tier companies also need to have a huge presence in these places. And two, you need to have anchor clients, like Coimbatore has Bosch. And you build accordingly around that, right? So I would like to believe a few steps that we can take is one is infrastructure-wise, your airports, your roads, which I think is given buildings, grade A buildings, for example. Talent is definitely there. I don't think we need to worry about talent. If you take great companies with the talent, will follow. Right? So I guess the work that needs to be done, like some of the governments are doing, is one to provide infrastructure. Some of them are providing SOPs, like saying that okay, if you hire fresh graduates, I will do some discount, real estate, I will do reinvestment, if you hire more women, there is a kind of a payroll discount that they're providing. So there are SOPs that governments are willing and it's out there, but I think what we need to develop is the infrastructure.
Okay. No, I agree. The point that do you think remote work, that can actually make tier 2, tier 3 cities more attractive because people will not have to go around and so on and so forth. Do you think that is a trend to stay?
Definitely, I think when I look at the remote work which was there during the post-vaccination phase, almost 27% of the open jobs were declared remote. And when I look at it now, almost 17-18% of the open jobs are remote jobs. And so still, the significant number is purely remote. Though we know many of the enterprises have still embraced hybrid. And if you look at the overall global data, if you look at freelancer data with Upwork or Fiverr, we look at almost 34% of the work out there are actually for tech work, right? And if freelancing companies are actually offering that many number of tech jobs, it goes without saying that India is at the forefront of tech talent and more remote work can come to India. And definitely, I think if you look at the female participation ratio, which has reduced, post companies asking to come back to office. I think remote work, the more it gets popular, I think India will benefit. And even if you look at the employer or account kind of companies, which today payroll anywhere from the world, the leading kind of companies which payroll almost 3 lakh people worldwide. So which means that you need to just identify somebody and there are means to employ them anywhere in the world. So that way, I think with the sizable population of more than 6 million tech workers in India, and so many graduates passing out. If you look at just GitHub, we have almost 60 million developers right there. So I think all this points out that the more the world embraces remote work, India will benefit. Tier 2 cities will benefit. So I guess we'll win all of it.
Sure. Moving on to strategies, right? There's a vision talking really on strategies. What kind of strategies do you think the government, industry, academia, they will need to do to ensure skill development in the ecosystem innovation, right? What measures do we need to take to ensure that it is competitive at the world level? Because AI coming in, our volumes may not be that important as compared to the skills that we can get. So what do you think we should be doing? You did touch upon it in the discussion, but maybe focus on 2-3 action items for each of these in terms of making the future.
See, one of the things that Mr. Ray talked about the gap also is about, we have mostly limited services. We don't have world-class product company that competes with. Yeah, we have developed great products, but they're always been something that we compete at a global scale in most of them, right? I think we need to create more product companies, which also brings me to the next point of how much investment we're making in R&D as a country. I think the government is over how much spend on the R&D, which I think is going to create more product companies in the market. And when it comes to academia, very clearly, I think enterprises need to embrace the integration with academic institutions much stronger behind was observing this one company in Hyderabad, which is in services, where they have tie-ups with some of the colleges in tier 2 cities. When I say tie-ups, it's not a big word. Their entire work, is carried through that. The curriculum is almost like the work given by this enterprise. So they're almost integrated with them, almost at the scale of 500, 600 people on that campus actually work in this company. So that would point out to a bit of a homogeneity, but what I picked up from there is if enterprises can actually have strong tie-ups, some of these companies do 50,000, 60,000, every year or even more. And how much, if they can integrate because they know what's coming their way, there is AI and various versions of it that's already there. And if they're able to integrate that with some of the institutions, and let's say for the Ep.3 sake, they can have multiple tie-ups and have an engine running, which is completely, integrated with these academic institutions. That's two things. One, they get industry-ready people, when they train them. One, and two, they're getting a ready pool for if they want to recruit from them, right? So I think that's one aspect which enterprises should spend time rather than just recruiting people and spending time on it. And two, I think every campus in India should have a startup, no matter what. Because I think the future of tech environment at scale will happen to all of us. And I think academic institutions, many of them are today being independent in many they can do what they want, and they are cash rich. So I think the startup incubator in every campus is a must. These are things that come to my mind.
Yeah, I think I'll also answer the follow-up question later on. And it addresses the employability point that you raised at the start of the discussion, right? That, how do we address employability? Because of this changing requirements, rapid shift in technology demands, organizations and academia has to work closely together. And I think the way to do it is kind of colleges, create that pool, ready pool, so that they're also agile enough to your needs and then what you move forward. Last question, Kamal, what challenges do you see Indian professionals face in the global technology market, right? And how can we be better prepared for this? Challenges can be both real and perceived. So,
10 years ago, I would have been worried about this question as to how Indians would fare out globally or overseas. But I think not today. For the reason that over the last 10 years or maybe even 2 decades, the entire ecosystem that has got built out, which is this, let's say, the 6 million odd workers from working in, consulting companies, IT services companies, GCCs, product companies, and startups, which all have an international flavor, where they're regularly dealing with clients or overseas, or they're also well traveled because of these assignments. And the sheer number of multinationals in which they are all employed have already, in my view, made them globally ready from soft skill or technology skill point of view. I think the only place they would actually struggle is if there are countries with visa issues for work. Otherwise, I think our workforce has got well trained, and I wouldn't worry much in the world that is so well connected. And so many international students passing out in the tech fields as well. I wouldn't really think that they need anything more. The training given in India by these large enterprises is sufficient enough for them to be employed.
It's a happy story to end this discussion. But one more point I just thought, Kamal, you just covered, for our audience, few tips that you would like to share. How to get good areas of the successful areas of the what should they be focused on?
So we actually have this framework in the enterprise Xpheno that we talk about. We join an organization for the brand, for the role, for the industry, money, and management. So I think it is important for anyone to consider that when I'm looking up my career, what do I look for? We know clearly when you look at the 3.5 lakh people who changed jobs in the last 12 months in India, everybody would have changed jobs for any one of these reasons, but predominantly it will be money. Right? I don't think anybody changes a job without a substantial hike of 30% unless they are sitting from the job. So what it means is the other factors of would you work for a brand to gain an exposure? Would you actually look at a role which gives you something? Right? Will you actually change the industry because it gives you an exposure? Right? The manager and the money sometimes are going together because from many times people follow the managers to another company. I think one of the strongest thing that I would urge anybody is, let there be a claim to fame to you on your CV. The claim to fame could be a company that you work for. The claim to fame could be the role, the skills the project that you did, a product you launched. Sometimes it takes a little longer to achieve some of these things because you also need to be at the phase of a company for a little longer for you to experience what the company is going through. For example, if the company is launching something very new, company is going through an IPO, company is actually going overseas, going through a merger and acquisition, right? So all these phases add to your skill report. Sometimes I think we are not patient enough to be that long to get these experiences. Right? So we say, okay, I'm here, I did this gig, I move on. But sometimes these gigs don't add the necessary experience to us because you're not in the life cycle of an organization. So I'm not saying work in organizations forever as a recruiting company or all to change jobs. But I would say that the key aspect is that you get a claim to fame on the list, which I think many of us don't do. We don't have that patient. Every bad incident or bad things or changing the job. So I would say that one clear tip for anybody is ensure that you have a claim to fame by either working on it a little longer than you would normally do. Working on project which doesn't seem very savvy from outside but actually gives you an exposure. And clearly picking some of these assignment creation and planning the tools and industry will give you a variety in the CVs and whatever.
Sure, these are all great tips. So build brand, industry, role, manager, right? And also having an achievement focus. You can see what you've achieved rather than look at tenure, what kind of achievements you have done. So I think those are all great tips on. Thank you, Kamal, for sharing your vision, your stories, such valuable insights on how India can cement its position as the technology direct capital of the world. On that inspiring and visionary note, we conclude this episode of Vision Talks. Viewers, we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more thought-provoking conversations with industry leaders. We'll see you in the next episode. Until then, stay tuned.